I'm Miscellaneous Stories. And this is the movie Roofman. A cunning robber robbed 45 McDonald's restaurants before being caught. After escaping prison, he lives in a toy store for 6 months, hiding from staff during the day, and coming out at night. The film, based on real events, begins at night. On the roof of a McDonald's restaurant, a man named Jeffrey Manchester breaks through the fragile roof to get inside. In the morning, when the staff starts their shift, the robber politely locks them in the freezer. Noticing that the manager has arrived at work without a jacket, Jeffrey gives him his own to keep him warm, until help arrives, then escapes with the loot. The story flashes back 2 years to the birthday party of Khalipa, Jeffrey's daughter. Her father gives the girl his old construction set. Dominica is upset by the gift. She wanted a bicycle. Later, Jeffrey is outside discussing with his colleague Steve his inability to provide a good life for his daughter. Steve responds by suggesting that the former Marine use his unique talents, his remarkable powers of observation. After the party, Jeffrey takes his daughter's twin sons to his ex-wife, Talani. Noticing that his daughter has left an unwanted gift in the car, he ponders how to improve his precarious financial situation. His gaze falls on a repairman climbing a ladder to the roof of a McDonald's, one of more than 10,000 cookie-cutter restaurants across the country, built to the same template and operating according to the same script. The proceeds are kept in a safe, from which they are collected once a week. This information allowed Jeffrey to pull off 45 robberies over 2 years and save up for a nice house. During his daughter's next birthday celebration, Jeffrey hands her the keys to the garage so she can see for herself what gift awaits inside. The girl sees the bicycle she's always dreamed of. However, when they open the gate to test it, the police arrive outside. The father escapes, but the cops eventually subdue him, right in front of his daughter. In early 2004, with only one proven robbery out of nearly 50 suspected, the judge sentences him to 45 years for the attempted murder of 3 employees by frostbite. The robber realizes his plan to make his daughter happy has somehow gone awry, but he remains cheerful, hoping to maintain contact. However, calling from prison, he learns that his mother is categorically against his daughter communicating with him, mentally preparing the girl for the harsh reality of life. She will never see her father again. Desperate, Jeffrey gathers his courage and begins planning his escape. Thanks to his insight, modest nature, and personal charm, he finds work in the prison carpentry shop. One day, while loading produce into a truck, Jeffrey, under the plausible pretext of inspecting the vehicle, climbs under the truck's hood to note its dimensions. Thanks to access to equipment and other perks for good behavior, he cuts a suitable board, sharpens a sewing needle, and fashions more or less civilian clothes from dirty rags and scrap materials, so as not to attract attention with a prison uniform. Having prepared himself, Jeffrey waits for the right moment. After another load, when the driver has climbed into the cab, but not yet set off, he drags the board under the truck's hood, secures it as a shelf, and climbs in after him. This is enough for the exit guard to miss the truck in their special mirror and let it pass. Jeffrey rolls on the pallet along the roads until the driver needs to take a leak. When the driver parks on an exit ramp, the criminal climbs out and, carefully hiding behind the truck, allows it to drive away. He flees into the forest, where he strips off his overalls, revealing handmade clothing that's tattered but less suspicious. Reaching the road, the fugitive hitches a ride to the city. There, he watches his daughter ride a bicycle she gave him as a gift. Spotting a suspicious man in a nearby car, Jeffrey decides not to push his luck, and shedding a single manly tear, walks away to avoid being caught. Finding a payphone, he calls not the operator to get him out of this matrix, but comrade Steve to help him escape to another country from which he won't be extradited. Steve sets the terms. He'll spend a month on the run to reduce the police's search, and then call back. Noticing a police car circling the city night, Jeffrey disguises himself as a customer and goes to the nearest supermarket, which turns out to be a Toys R Us toy store. The store is getting ready to close, but that's exactly what Jeffrey needs. Trying to remain inconspicuous, he walks down the aisles to the utility rooms and enters the men's restroom. There, a man removes one of the suspended ceiling tiles to climb up to the roof, where he won't be seen. After the staff has gone home, Jeffrey descends from the roof into the office to explore. In the sales area, the burglar notices fixed-angle security cameras. Armed with a special pinch stick, Jeffrey makes his way to the candy shelf to steal some food. He's unable to reach the candy because the camera's view is obstructed, forcing him to rely on baby food. Noticing a folder with instructions near the security console, Jeffrey manages to access the settings as an administrator and disable recording. Safe from detection, he heads to the store, where he stocks up on fresh clothes, albeit some for children, and candy-shaped snacks. He also notices a semicircular bike rack, behind which there's a clear space. There, Jeffrey sets up his hideout, hiding in plain sight. The man prepares for a month-long wait, packing a mattress, stuffed animals, and other comforts into his lair. At night, he rummages through the store, including the lost and found items bin, maintains hygiene in the public restroom, and tries to live life to the fullest, keeping tabs on the government's interest in him on the news. Finding a baby surveillance system on the shelves, Jeffrey installs several cameras in the store to securely monitor the staff and eavesdrop on them, a nihilist of sorts. While monitoring Mitch's office, he sees him deny employee Lee Wayne Scott a day off for the sake of the children. The manager's personal affairs are of no interest. After spying on Mitch entering his password through the camera, Jeffrey later sneaks into his computer to change Lee's schedule, a small gift from the criminal bogeyman. A month passes in this manner. At the appointed time, Jeffrey breaks down the back door, then borrowing a bicycle, rides out in search of a payphone. He's not particularly worried about being recognized. Within a month, news of his escape had faded from memory. Instead of Steve, Michelle, his new girlfriend, picks up the phone. She says Steve is on a 6-month contract leave and will return on December 6th. To maintain morale, he calls home to hear his daughter's voice, but remains silent on the phone to avoid revealing himself. Back at the supermarket, Jeffrey sets up a 6-month calendar in his hideout, marking the date of Steve's return. A bandit overhears him inviting his boss to come to church and donate a toy from the return package. They're still not selling. Mitch declines, but Jeffrey is intrigued. He pulls a flyer from the trash can and, on the appointed morning, like a former Santa Claus with a sack of stolen toys, goes to the church. After dropping off the donation, he's invited inside. There, Jeffrey sees Lee performing in the choir. While enjoying a home-cooked meal after the service, the man meets the pastor, who introduces him to Lee, one of the parish's most active women. Jeffrey introduces himself as John, who moved here after his divorce from his wife. The parishioners invite the reluctant bachelor to a singles brunch. Arriving at the brunch, the robber discovers he is the only man there. To avoid questioning, Jeffrey John lies that he is an undercover agent and is involved with state secrets. His charm makes a positive impression on the ladies present. After brunch, Lee invites him on a date in the park, after which they head to Lee's house. While lying in bed, they agree to have dinner so Jeffrey can meet Lee's daughters. Soon, Jeffrey John arrives, bringing treats bought with honestly stolen money. The younger Dee gives him a toy and a Zelda video game disc, a fan of which she's a fan, while the older Lindsay gives him a pack of trendy music discs. The girl's first encounter with their potential stepfather is a success. Emboldened, without the feeling of the police breathing down his neck, Jeffrey goes to church with his girlfriend and enjoys life, even helping Dee get her bangs. The rest of the time he hides in a secret corner of the supermarket, spying on the employees and stealing video games to resell at the pawn shop. One evening, while the bandit was taking a shower in the restroom, drying his clothes between the aisles, the manager Mitch returned to the store. When he entered the office naked, Jeffrey tried to cover his tracks, but an employee caught him doing so. The criminal had no choice but to intimidate Mitch, cornering him in the office, and then feign an escape through the back door. In reality, Jerry had returned to a nook behind the bike rack. The incident attracted the attention of the police, but the plot was successful. Law enforcement assumed a homeless man had broken into the store to spend the night. December 6th arrived, and Steve had returned from work. Jeffrey called him from home, only to arrange a meeting. Lee, overhearing part of the conversation, realized the man was off somewhere, but there was no cause for concern yet. To smooth over Lindsay's argument with her mother, Jeffrey suggested they all go for a ride. A criminal takes a new family to a used car dealership for a test drive. Jeffrey drives recklessly, accelerating and performing U-turns, delighting the children and stressing the adults. He then hands over a ton of cash to a clerk to buy a car for Lindsay and offers her the wheel. When they return to the store to fill out the paperwork, the clerk takes family photos of the buyers, praising the caring father. No one in the store corrects him. Jeffrey goes to Steve to arrange for fake documents and transportation abroad. While Michelle is picking out a look for him for the new photo, the criminal learns the service is quite expensive. He needs 50,000 rubles. He promises to get the required amount on time. On the way back, Jeffrey stops at a gun store to steal a gun. He drills a hole in the roof out of habit, but misses, hitting the next building. Having broken through the wall and set off the alarm, the criminal grabs a revolver and a bulletproof vest, then flees, smashing a display window with a Buddha statue. No one expected him to be so nervous. Christmas is approaching, the busiest time for toy stores. Jeffrey, taking advantage of the manager's failure to change the password, changes his shift hours just so his girlfriend isn't in the store when he plans to raid it. Early in the morning, as the employees are reporting for duty, and Mish encounters the cash collector, Jeffrey emerges from hiding, armed and masked. At gunpoint, he forces the employees to the floor, ordering Mish to tie their hands with zip ties. When the collector decides to play the hero, the robber is forced to knock him out with a precision strike. Then Jeffrey leads Mish to the safe to collect the takings. The first thing the bandit orders is to take out a pack of paint. After the manager spills indelible ink, Jeffrey retreats with the bag. Passing the bound employees, he sees the cash collector bleeding. Tormented by guilt and the comments of the frightened employees, the bandit returns to call an ambulance. At that moment, Lee arrives at the store, having forgotten that her shift starts late. She sees the masked robber and runs away. Jeffrey runs in the other direction. When the police, having searched the store, find his hideout, Jeffrey is already at Steve's. Having paid with the stolen money, he receives orders to arrive at the airport in the morning so the necessary people can transport him across the border. Although he wants to stay for the holidays with Lee and her daughters, he has little choice, either or. But before that, he needs to cover his tracks. Specifically, he needs to burn down the dentist's office, where he got his teeth done to keep the cops from finding him. That same night, Jeffrey breaks into a restaurant and sets it on fire. The next day, as he's driving to the airport, Lee calls him. Overcome with emotion, the criminal answers. The woman says they're expecting him for a celebratory dinner. Jeffrey sheds a few tears, tormented by a moral choice: flee the country for freedom or return to his new family. After a while, he parks near Lee's house. Hiding the gun, Jeffrey takes balloons from the back seat and gets up and attempts to open the front door with the key, is met with a taut chain. No one is waiting for him inside, but a SWAT team is waiting outside. It's a police trap. Sitting in the car, Lee hears the guy crying and not even denying his guilt. Only a lone balloon, a symbol of the unrealistic dream of simple human happiness, floats away into the cloudy pre-holiday sky. For his escape, Jeffrey was given an extra 30. In his cell, he keeps 2 photographs of his 2 families. He was finally allowed to call Calliope. Lee visited him once in 10 years to say goodbye, close the gestalt, and move on with her life. She remarried. The film ends with archival footage of the real participants in these events, and a brief biographical summary. Jeffrey Manchester escaped from prison twice more. He is currently not planning to escape. He will be eligible for parole in